Okay, so it's finally time for the deployment. First thing is to set things up on GitHub. So you need to create an account on github.com and create a repository. I have already done this for my project, but you only need to click plus new repository. And then, for example, I have one Django BNB for the front end. So you see this already exists, and I have a Django BNB backend as well. Let me just do this so I can show you what else you need to do. Then you click repository, keep this public if you want, or private if you want to just have this for yourself. And when you click this, you can see down here how you can initialize this on your computer. So you can do this to create a simple README file, then initialize it, then you add all of the files and push it to the repository you created. Anyways, so I have already done this. So when you have created one repository for the front end, Django BNB, and one for the backend, Django BNB _ backend, you're ready to continue. So I will just close this again now and set this to done, since I have already done that. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I will try to answer you as soon as I can. On my channel here on YouTube, I also have a few guides on how to use GitHub, so you can try to just search them on how to do that. For the rest of this deployment, this is very new to me, so bear with me if I do mistakes and if I have to go back and forth a little bit. I have done a lot of deployment before, but I have actually never tried to deploy Django with Docker before, and also never deployed a Node.js or Next.js application. But hopefully everything will be okay. So let's say that we now have created Git and everything there is okay. So if I just stop the server here and say git status, then you can see that everything is up to date with my main. This is the front end, and git status, this is the back end. Next step then is to create a server on DigitalOcean. I will add a link in the description below. If you click that, you will receive $200 on DigitalOcean, where you can test out their servers for free in 60 days. This also helps me, and if you continue to use it after the 60 days, I will earn $25. So let's go to DigitalOcean and create an account, or sign in if you already have an account. So right now you can see here I'm on my team, Code with Stein. I don't have any servers right now, so let's just create one. So I create one and I select droplets. A droplet, it's sort of like a virtual private server or a node, as someone call it, and they have a few different names, but here they call them droplets. First you can select your location. I like to use one of these two because they are the closest one to Norway, where I am located. So Frankfurt, then you can select data center. Frankfurt only has one. Next step is to select an image. I like to choose Ubuntu and 2204. You can see this has LTS, which stands for long-term support, which means that this version of Ubuntu will be updated for many years from now on. Next is the size. For this tutorial I will just use the regular with disk type SSD, because I don't need any one of these. I don't need Intel or AMD processors, so I just keep it at this. And the size can be the smallest one. I think that will be enough for the Docker applications and the Node.js front end. If not, we can always upgrade to this one later. So I do not need any more space. Here you can enable automated backups if you want to do that. Next is how you want to connect to the server. The most secure and simplest way is to just use SSH keys, but for this tutorial I will just stick to a password. So that was a good and secure password. Here you can enable metrics if you want to do that, so you can keep track of how much memory the server is using, how much CPU, how much available space you have, and similar. And if you reach a specific threshold, you will receive an email from DigitalOcean telling you need to check out what it is. I only want one droplet, and then you can add the host name if you want to do that. This is typical to use because now you can see how many CPUs you have, how much RAM you have, where it is located, and similar. But you can also call it something cool if you want to do that, or you can call it your name or whatever. I will just keep this as it is. And in the project called Stein, maybe you don't have any project. I just have a list here of other projects that I use. So then create server, and then this will just take a few minutes. I think I can go back here and set this to done, or maybe I should set up the server and make it ready first. Yes, let's just wait for this to finish. Okay, so now that the IP address appeared here, everything should be alright. Sometimes it takes a few more minutes before you can connect, but let's try to do it now. So just click to copy and head to a terminal. Then I open up a new tab here, and I can say SSH root at the IP address. If you have Windows, you maybe need to download PuTTY, or maybe you have this built into newer versions of Windows. I'm not sure, I haven't used it for many years. And just hit enter, and yes, I want to add to continue. And then I need to type in the password that I used and hit enter. Okay, so now you can see that I'm logged in. Here are already a few updates that needs to be installed, so we can do that first. apt update. This will just make sure that all the references to the packages and similar are could not get log filed. This might be because the server is still getting up and running. I've actually never seen this before, held by process. It might be because there are already something running in the background since the server was just created. So I will just log out by hitting Ctrl D and log in again and see if that works. So then I run the command again, apt update. If you didn't get this message, then you can just continue. If you did get this, I will try to reboot the server and see if that works. Then you can see that I was now thrown out, and if I try to connect again, I will not be able to do that until the server is ready again. Great, so now I should be able to log in again, and then I can again try to run this command apt update. So now it's reading some packages list and similar, updating. Great, so now you can see there are 185 packages that can be upgraded. So let's run this, apt upgrade. So now everything on the server should be up to date when this is finished running. It will take a few minutes. Okay, so when you are prompted with this pink screen, you can just hit enter because I want to keep the local version. And I think there will come one more. Okay, so just hit enter and enter again. And then we should be ready with the setup. Great. So then I can go to my to-do list, set this to done. Next step then is to set up the backend. When creating the environment, maybe I should say install Docker Compose instead. Set up a Docker Compose file for prod and a few other things. So we can begin by installing Docker Compose. So let's go back to the server and say apt install docker-compose. So yes, I do want to install this. Okay, and now we should have this installed, and if I say Docker, you can see that it's installed because now I get the help for what commands and similar are available. Great. So that means that I can set this to done again, and we can set up a Docker Compose file for production. If I find the backend here, we already have this Docker Compose, which is for the local environment here. Here I need to just make a copy of this, paste it, and save it as docker-compose.prod.yml. So now we have one for local and one for production. Here I want to set up one more service. I want to set up something called nginx, which is a web server we are going to use inside Docker to host the project and build. And this is going to build a folder called nginx. So you're going to have a separate Docker file for this and nginx configuration, ports, and here I want this nginx to use a specific port. We can take 30 and 37, which is elite. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a random port that I want to use for this project. And I want this to go to port 80. So this will be the port out of this project, and 80 will be the inside into nginx. Then we need to set up what this depends on. So it depends on, and then we can just pass in web. And the web is already depending on this, which means that everything should be working there. I also want to do a change to the command we are using to run Django. Just remove these three here and say gunicorn or gunicorn if you want to say that. Django BNB backend .wsgi application. So this will now point to the folder that we have in here and to this file, which is entry points for the web applications. So this sort of just sets up a Django application and take you further into the URLs file and similar. At the end here we say -- bind, and we bind this here to the URL 00008000. This can just be like it is, but instead of having ports here, we want to expose port 8000. And I want to have one more service that this depends on, and that is Daphne. Daphne is the... We have already installed this previously. It sort of is the WebSocket server for Django. And we can set it up as well. So Daphne : this should build inside the same folder as the Django project because we want to run it from there. Oops, Django BNB backend. And the command we want to run is Daphne space -- bind. And we want to bind the address 0000 to port or P 8002. So the address for the WebSocket will be 00008002, at least internally on this server. And then this should point to Django BNB backend.asgi, which is asynchronous entry points for the web server, application. And here we can say ports 8002, 8002. So we get 8002 in, and we get 8002 in, which points to this one. So I think that was everything I needed to do in here. Let's try to save this. Nothing will happen yet, but at least this is what I need to do here for now. I also want to do a change in the settings.py file. If I here find the website URL, should probably be like this. If debug, then the website URL is that. Else, the website URL should be something else. And that's where I want to get the IP address for the server. http://1337. At least this is the website URL for the back end, not the front end. So that can be like that. Scroll down. In the course allowed origins, here we need to add this here, like this. And we can also add http://1337, just so that we have everything. This will be the front end, or Next.js, and this is the back end. You can also make a copy of this and rename this to course trusted origins, just so that we know that everything is okay. And 1/3 one, which will be course origins underscore white list. So some of these might do the same thing. I'm not quite sure. This is usually what I do, and it usually works. So that's why I just want to keep it like that. So we should still use, here you can see we point to the WSGI and ASGI. We still use the environment to get these variables. So it looks okay. Yes. Okay, so let's save this now. This can also be closed, so we don't have to think about that. Close this, and then in here, in this backend folder, we will have these two. Let's create a new folder called nginx, and in there, a file called docker file. So this is where I want to install nginx on the server. There might be a solution to do this in the other Docker file as well, but I'm not sure. But this is the way I have learned to do it. So from nginx:125. So this will then create an image or install nginx version 125. Run, and when this is run, I just want to delete the default configuration for nginx. So rm etc/nginx/conf.d/default.conf, just so that's not doing anything we don't want to do it. And then we can say copy nginx.conf to etc/nginx/conf.d. So what this do now, you're going to copy this file and put it in there. So then we obviously need to create this nginx.conf. So nginx.conf, and this isn't very complicated. We need to create an upstream which will point to the web application or Django. So upstream space hello Django, or you can call it Django BNB backend, for example, Django BNB backend, which makes a little bit more sense. And then server web :8000. So what this points to is web, which is this name, and it points to this 8000 port that is exposed. Next we create a server, so server semicolon or curly braces listen 80. So now we listen to port 80, and if I go in here again, yes, you can see that the server are exposing port 80 here on the nginx build. Next we set up a location that will point to the Django BNB backend. So location, so all URLs beginning with slash should go into proxy _pass http:// and then Django BNB backend. So this just sort of forwards all of the traffic into this one. And we need to set up something called proxy set header x -forwarded -4 proxy underscore add underscore x underscore 4 or dead underscore 4. So this also just forwards traffic into where we want it. Need to do this one more time. Proxy set header host host. So we send in the domain name, I think it is. Proxy redirect off, and then close the location. So if you don't understand this, just relax and know that I don't really either. It's just something that I know has to be done every time that I deploy a Django application in nginx. So this sort of just forwards all of the traffic in to here where we are running gunicorn. And then below here we need to set up one more location for the WebSocket. So location, this is a little bit different. We added this sign. In Norwegian we call it tilde, maybe tilde, not sure what it's called in English. And then this one, which is another sign, I'm not sure, caret, I think it's called, /ws/. So all traffic begins with this, will be located to this proxy path instead. So proxy path, http://127.001:8002. So now this is the local address on the server, and 8002 is the port we are exposing down there. And then we can do some proxy path things here as well. This is a little bit different. Here we say proxy underscore http underscore version 1.1, and proxy set header is something we need to do here as well. Proxy set header upgrade space http underscore upgrade. One more proxy set header which goes to connection upgrade, and proxy set header host host, and proxy underscore cache bypass $http:/upgrade. So I hope it's not too confusing, and I hope that you are able to understand this, even though it doesn't really make much sense, but it's something that you usually need to do every time you deploy a project. So now that this is added, I think we are ready to go to the server. So if I go back here where I have the project somewhere, there is the backend. I can say git status. Then you can see that I have done changes to this file. This file is new and this folder is new. So I need to commit this to the server. Git commit, git add dash to add everything. Unable to create, permission denied. Sudo git status. So you can see that this is added, this is not. Okay, git status. So I was in the wrong folder, so I need to be in this backend folder here, where we have the Docker Compose and similar. So let's try to run git add again. Still get that permission denied. Git status. Now you can see that everything of this will be sent to GitHub. So I can say git commit server files. Sudo, hopefully you don't need to use sudo. Maybe I've done something wrong when I've been switching between my users or similar. Sudo git push. Invalid username or password. Okay, so let me try one more time now. Okay, I need to set up a access token on my GitHub. So github.com. This is something you might need to do as well if you are new. So go to settings and find somewhere you should have the developer settings and open up personal tokens, token classics, and then you can generate a new token, and this is just for sending stuff to GitHub. So generate new token classic, code with Stein. You can set an expiration if you want to do that. I usually use the no expiration, and you usually just need this one. So then we can scroll down and say generate token, and then I can copy it here, and then this will be the password that I'm going to log in with. So it's not your normal password. What is wrong? Okay, so now everything is up to date. I'm sorry about this mess. It's just because I have multiple users here on the Mac, and usually I use the other user for committing things to Git and not this Code with Stein user. But now it looks good. So if I go here now and find this repository, Django, BNB, backend, then I have the project here, and you can see here that 2 minutes ago I updated this, and this. Great. So now I need to get this code into the server. So I just want to go to the to-do list and set this to done, because now I want to get it there. To do that, I just click code here, and I can copy this link, go into the terminal, find the server again. As a PVD, you can see that I'm in the root folder. That can be okay, but I think I want to go to mkdir/webapps and then go there as well, because that makes more sense to me to have all of the projects here. So now I can say git clone and paste in the address that I copied from GitHub. So now this will download everything there, and if I go into Django BNB backend, you can see that I here have this docker compose prod. Nice. Before I continue, I just want to say thanks to all of my patrons. If you too want to support me, you will find a link in the description below. So I think we could try to build the container now and see if it works. To do that, we say docker-compose. That should be working. Yes, good. And -f docker compose .prod.yml up --build. So now we want to build this. It's invalid because service nginx port contains invalid type. It should be an array. Darn, I did something wrong. Forgot to add a space there. So I just want to do this locally, so I don't have to do anything of this on the server. So just add a space there. Go back to the terminal, back here. If I now say git status again, you'll see that this changed. So sudo git add that, commit, and then changed docker compose file, sudo git push. I need to use the here again. Darn, it's gone. Usually the command line remembers this, so it probably do that with you. So it should be this one. You can regenerate this. Yeah, regenerate, okay. No expiration. And then copy this again. Paste, hit enter, and now this should be up to date again. And if I go back to the server, I can say git pull to pull down the newest version. You can see here that there was some changes to this file. So if I just click the arrow keys 2 times up, I find this command again and can hit enter. So now I can see that this actually is starting. It's pulling down libraries like Python And you can see now that it's setting up everything that we did in the file. It's installing netcat, a few things like that. It's installing a lot of things that I have no idea what it is. Now it's trying to install from requirements, which reminds me, I know there is something wrong, but I will come back to that. We can try to see the error first. Okay, so now it's going to Daphne, continue building that, setting up the entry points, and it looks like things are working so far. That's good. So now it's downloading nginx, going to that step. So now it's setting up everything. I think that it will crash soon now. Yes. Okay, so first of all you can see that there is a problem with PostgreSQL, and also, for example, this, you can't split it because Django don't find this in the system. It can't find the environment variables. So it's running the database stuff. Okay, gunicorn not found. So we need to fix the gunicorn, and we need to fix the environment variables. So just click Ctrl+C to stop everything here now, and we can go to Google Chrome and say pip install gunicorn. We need to find the latest version of this. That's 21.20. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, open up Django BNB backend, open up requirements.txt and append it here. Gunicorn equals and that one. Okay. So then we need to go here again and commit these changes. Git add that, changed, or for example, added gunicorn, sudo git push, like that, and go back here and say git pull. So now I have that. If I run ls-lart, you can see that I have a file here called env.dev. This should actually not be there, and it should be added into this gitignore file, but that's a little bit late right now. But if I just take this now, cp env.dev, and rename it to .env, this .env file contains the password and similar for PostgreSQL. It has some allowed hosts which we need to change. So to change this, and this is something I only want to do here on the server because I actually don't want to have this on Git, then I can say vi for that's an editor here, and .env. And if I go into the list of allowed hosts, I need to add the IP address for the server we created. So copy this one and paste it and add the space in the middle. The secret key should also be something a little bit more secure, since this is in a production site. Feel free to add even more secret key there. So to save, you just click escape and type :WQ, as you can see down in the corner, and hit enter. This will write and quit. And when that is done, we can just click up a few times until we find this build command and try it again. This will go much faster this time because everything should now be downloaded and similar. It will just do the changes for what we did for gunicorn, for example. Okay, so there are still some problems here because it can't find the environment file. But at least now it didn't comment that the gunicorn wasn't working. You can see here that the gunicorn is actually working. I think if I try to visit the URL in the browser, it will definitely not work, but you can see what we get. Yes, I need to add this to the allowed hosts. I thought I did that. Open up the settings file. Not there, of course. Yes, it's not added to the allowed host because the environmental file doesn't work. So let's stop this again with Control-C. And then I can copy that file by saying cp, stands for copy, .env, try to move it into the Django backend folder there. I can try to rebuild again, see if that helps. So it went much quicker now, and it still can't find the environmental folder or things. Okay, maybe we need to install. I have no idea why it will not work. So I can do some changes here. For example, I can install something called .env. I just need to find the correct version. Pip install .env. Actually, it's python.env, and the version is 101.1, and save. And if I now open up settings.py, we can import it here from .env, import load_.env, and then we run it by saying load.env right below there. Let's try to commit this and get it to the server. So git add, and then commit added.env sudo git push. By the way, if you have any idea why the Docker here won't read this, but it does it locally, feel free to leave a comment below. That would be really helpful. Sudo git push, and then my username and password there again. So now it's pushed, and then I can say git pull here. And then I got the new settings and I got the new requirements. So then we need to rebuild this again. And now it will probably take a little longer because now it needs to install the python.env. So this is sort of a helping library for reading environmental variables. Okay, so now everything is installed. Database is up and running. Great, no migrations. So it looks like things actually is working now. Perfect. So now you can see that it's listening there on port 8000 and listening TCP 8002. And 8002 is then the Daphne backend server. So if I refresh here now, you can see that this is not added to the settings file. Maybe I forgot to do that, but okay, so let's just stop this for now and we can do that. So vi Django backend.env, I think it's this one, 64.226.81. It is added there. So why is it not being... Okay, you know what? I just do this manually. Take the IP address, go into vi Django backend settings, Django settings, and then instead of having this split on this, I have no idea why it doesn't work. Then I create a new array here. And then I add the IP address there. So then I can save and quit this. If I now rebuild this, let's see if it works then. It should go quick. So starting, now changes. So now it is running there and I can refresh and now it looks like it is working. Okay. So let's try to go to the front end now and just run that project. So this can just stay in the background to see that everything is working. So here I can say npm run dev. if I now go back here and find a project there, refresh, this should not load anything because it can't connect to the backend. That's okay. But if I find Django BNB and the file called env.local, instead of having this address, I can take the server IP address and paste it here. No slash at the end, and save. If I then go back here again and refresh, there are no errors, but there are no content either. So let's try to create a new user. Submit. So then this was posted. It looks like it was working. If I open up the terminal and just see on the server, nothing happened here. That might be dumb, or it might be good. Maybe we just don't post anything in the log right now. Let's try to create a new house. Submit. So then it was sent there. The image doesn't load, but we will come back to that. But at least it was added in the database, which means that the server in the backend is working. Great. Okay, so now that we know that we can connect to the backend and similar, we know that it is running, which is good. Let's go here now. Just stop it by saying Control D or Control C. Okay, it actually just stopped responding for me. That's why we might not see any output here. So I just got the phone call, so it might just killed my internet connection. That was probably why we didn't see anything here. So I can try to log in again. Root at that address. And then the password I used to create the server. CD web apps, Django backend. And then this is now running in the background, so it should be okay. If no, it's not okay. Fetch failed. Okay, try to start this again, but now I want to add one command -d here, which will run everything in the background. That's not correct. -d. So now this will start up, so we will see that everything is okay, but it will go back in the background. So if I now refresh, you can see that it's not working. Why? Bad gateway. Remove the build and run just this command, and we will see what's wrong. So it looks okay. Okay, I was just probably a little too soon to refresh there. So if I refresh now, you can see that it's getting this from the database. Okay. So Control C now, and we should stopping. Why? Refresh, and now we get the error again. But okay, sorry. Run this command now. Can remove the build probably, but -d so that it's running in the background. That we maybe need to wait a little bit again, so I know that I don't have to do that. Refresh. Okay, so now it is running again. We get the data there, and it's in the background there. Okay, so that was the back end. If we wanted to, we could replace this address with a domain name. That should be fairly simple. I'm not going to do it now, but if you want to do that, it will just be in here where we are listening to port 80. It could, for example, be server name code with stein.com, and then just point that domain to your IP address. Okay, so now we can continue and find my to-do list there. Set this to done, this to done, and this to done, because now the backend is finished. Okay, so now that the backend is working, we can set up frontend. So I'm going to use the same server, but I'm not going to use Docker for this. before I do anything on the server, I want to make a few changes in the front end. So let me find the env.local here, and you can see that this is the correct address for the backend server. Just hit Ctrl C here because I want this to be the env local file. But I can create one new file here. Just copy this and say .env.prod. Because for production I want to have a separate env file. Here the address should be the IP address for the server 30 and 37, and I want to add one more here. Next, public WS host, which is the WebSocket host, which is this URL 8002. This is not used anywhere, so if I search it, it will just return this, but if I search this, you can see that we use it in the API service. So we can copy this here where we use the environmental variable, and if I find the conversation detail, you can see that here we are using this address instead. So in there I want to pass in ws / of course, and then this should be automatically put into here. So we just say process.env next public ws host. I think that should be correct. I can copy and paste just to be 100% sure and save. So that was sort of it for making this ready. Now there is one more thing. Inside the next config we can't load images like this anymore, or we can do it, but I want to append the IP address for the server here 30 and 37, because this is where we're going to load images from. This will not make this work, but at least it should now be ready for production. Okay, there's something that failed. What is that? Connection refused. Localhost 8000. Why does it try to use local 8000? Where does it get that from? Yes, because we are trying to use the local server, it is not running. That is why. If I see here on Docker desktop, you can see that this has paused and still exited, so just don't worry about that. This is what will be used in production. So then I think everything should be ready there. So now we can log on or go back to the server here and do what we need. So just go up one folder, ls, you can see that we have the backend there, and then I want to do the same thing for the front end. So let's first just get the code from Git. If I find a repository, the address is this one for mine, and then copy this address, go back here as a git clone and paste in. Now we need to install nginx. So there might be a better way to include this in the same Docker configuration as Django, but I have not been able to do that, so I don't know how to do that. So we can install nginx by saying apt install nginx. So now this will be installed locally on the server as well, so we have it together with the Docker compose. Hit enter and enter. Then we can see if this is running, or we can at least start it by saying service nginx start. If I go back to Chrome now, you can just see that the backend is still doing what it did at this port, but for the front end we just want to use port 80 or 8000, and then we don't have to specify anything. So this is the default welcome page for nginx. We can get rid of that by going to cd to change there to nginx, etc nginx sites enabled, and say rm default. So we just delete this, just like we did in the nginx setup for the Docker container. If you remember what we did that somewhere in the Docker, not that one, sorry, but in this one we removed it from there. So we did that now locally here as well. And then we can create a new one, new configuration for the front end. So touch front end.conf, and then edit it by saying vi frontend.conf. And here we want to create a server, so server, and we want to listen on port 80. Port 80 is just HTTP, so you don't have to specify this in the address. You can set up the server name just so that we have it. Not sure if we need it though, but I like to do it. And then add the semicolon at the end. And then we use the same sort of style that we did inside the nginx for the Django project. We had the location and we set up a proxy pass. Proxy underscore pass http / localhost 3000. And this is where the Next.js project will run in the background. And then we pass in the proxy set, and then we pass in the proxy http underscore version 1.1, just like we did for the WebSocket, and proxy set header upgrade, pass in http underscore upgrade. Do one more time with this proxy set header and set the connection to be upgrade. One more time where we set the host to be host and proxy cache bypass http upgrade. Then we can close this and we can close this. If I now try to say service nginx restart, it will probably not work because there are nothing on port 3000. That's okay. This is still working, and here we get a bad gateway because we don't have anything locally running on port 3000. So that will be the next step. Before we continue, I just want to stop this locally and say git status. Then you can see that we have added this file and we have changed these two. So sudo or git add, let me try to do that, git commit ready for prod. That did not work. Sudo, and then sudo git push. My username, Stein, then the password. Okay, so now everything should be pushed and ready there. If I go to the server, I can say cd web apps Django BNB and say git pull to get those changes. You can see here that those that are these. And then we have the code. We probably need to install Node. Yes, we don't have that, so apt install node.js. We need this to build the newest version of our project here. Yes, I want to install this. So if I then just wait for this to finish. Okay, and okay. Then hopefully I can say node-v and see that I'm running node 12, which sounds very old. I should locally I have node 20, so why does it install this old version? Install node 20 Ubuntu. I have no idea why it gave me such an old version. I have run this. Okay, it might be because I have not done this, which is a different sort of repository for installing Node. So just copy everything there, go back to the server, paste these 3 lines. Yes, add that to this one, so copy everything here. That one first, and that one, paste. So now that was added. Then I need to run this update command again, so that all of the references and similar are correct. And if I then go down there, I can try to install it again like that. You can also install development. No, thank you. No, thank you. Okay. Okay and okay. Hopefully now the new version is installed. So node-v gives me 2012. Perfect. Okay. ls lart. You can see that I'm in here now. I have the env prod. Okay. So I don't have the node packages or node modules folder, so you need to install this by saying npm install. This should now install all of the packages that we have locally, but now here on the server. Okay, so everything there is installed. I think I might need to say mv.env.prod to just .env. So that is the environmental file. If I say cat.env, you can see that we are pointing to the correct addresses. Perfect. And to build the Node application, I would just say npm run build. And this will now give me a production ready build of everything. Looks like this can take a little while. Okay, compiled. So now it's linting and checking that all of the code is valid and good. Okay, there's something wrong with the code here. Scroll top does not exist on type never. Okay, it's probably good that it gives me this. Open up conversation detail. You can see here that the error is there. Property scroll top. But what does that mean? Okay, I think that this messages div is this ref. Maybe we need to change this to be a HTML div element. Save, scroll down. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Scroll height with capital H. Okay, errors are gone. Nice. Maybe there are more, we'll see. So git add dot and git commit fixed scroll error git push. Sorry, I need this. Sudo, you probably don't need that. And sudo git push. Okay, so code is pushed. And then I can say git pull. And we try to build this again. So it's sort of nice that it actually checks that everything is okay before it goes to production, so that if you missed an error like I did, then this will tell you it. Okay, linting looks like okay. Collecting page data. Generating static pages. Blah blah blah. Okay, so everything looks like it's okay. So next up then is the npm start. So this should start the local server in production on localhost 3000. If I now go here and refresh, you can see that I'm on this page now, and it's actually getting this one. Great. Fetch failed. Not sure why this came. It's probably the image that isn't showing there. That's okay. But it is working now. Great. Let me try to log in with one of my users. So I could not log in. Okay. There. Now I was logged in. No. I was logged in, but the cookie... It seems to be something wrong with the cookie. Why? So I have been Googling a little bit, and I think that I might know what the issue is. And I said that secure is set to true if we are in production. And I think the problem with that is that I am not on HTTPS. So I think that's the problem. So I can just default these to false. And you should not do that if you have a domain where you have a SSL certificate. But I will just do that for testing now. So save that, stop this server, and add commit sudo commit and push, and then I will try again. Git pull and build, and when that is done we need to start it again just to see if it is working now. So when you are in production, you usually create a domain name, for example https://codestein.com, and that will make sure that the browser will understand that the cookies are supposed to be secure and similar. But since this is just testing and I just use the IP address for the server as the address, it will not work. Okay, so now that should be done, and we can say npm run or npm start again. Now it is running there. Let me refresh. Okay, looks good so far. Try to log in. So I was logged in, and now the cookie is set. Yeah, so that was the problem. Inside the inbox I have a conversation here, and I can try to send messages, and the messages are sent and are stored in the database. And the reason why there are no names here is just because I haven't added a name to my user. So that's the reason why there are no names there. And same on the inbox, there is a missing name. Refresh. You can see the name is also missing here, just because the users that I have registered doesn't have a name yet. Okay, so now this is running and everything seems to be okay. We are just missing the media files now. I don't think the image was probably uploaded, but we are not serving it yet, so we need to do some changes to this. If I go to media, and don't remember the folders we uploaded this to. If I open up models.py in the property, it should go to uploads/properties. There are nothing right now. The image I uploaded. Actually, we should just stop the server now and create a super user so that we can log into the admin interface. So let's go back here now, into there, and into the Django backend there. If I here want to create a super user, I use the command docker-compose-f docker compose prod /docker-compose prod exec web python manage.py, and then create super user, I think. Yes, I need to specify name, admin@admin.no, and name, admin, password. Okay, so it was created successfully. Great. If I now go to admin, then you can see here this is missing the CSS similar. That will be fixed later. Admin@admin.no, and then the password I used to create this user. Okay, does not match any of the trusted origins. Darn, forgot to add this there. I thought I had to have done that. So let's find the settings.py. Trusted origins, it is there. Not course. Actually, this is not supposed to be course trusted origins, but it's supposed to be CSRF trusted origins. Okay, so that should be done, and I just want to check before I commit this code. Okay, so when that is set, we can go to the command line, go to the backend folder here, and say git add, sudo for me, sudo git add dot, and commit this, and push, like that. Go to the server again, make sure you are in the backend folder, and say git pull. Your local changes would be overwritten. I haven't done anything. Git status, git add. So you can see here that the the media file is at least uploaded. So let's just add this to the git commit settings changes. Could not. Okay, I need to tell them how this will not work. Sorry, git diff. I need to find the changes I did to this folder. Why does that not work? Okay, git checkout. Like that, git status. So now that file changes to be committed. Sorry about this mess here. Git status, git restore, maybe. Git status. Yes, so now there are no changes there, I think. And if I open up the settings file here, then I just need to do the same thing I did there, and that is to add the IP address up here. Save. So then I need to commit the code again. I know that this has been a little bit of a messy tutorial, but hopefully you are able to follow along. Now we can say git pull to get the code. Yes, and then we need to run the build command. That is this one. Need to go up one folder, then run it. Recreating, so it looks like everything is okay. If I go here now, it gives me a bad gateway, but that's just because I need to wait a little bit. And now it's up again, so then I can try to log in. And now I'm logged in. Great. So find the properties list and the property that we just added. Scroll down and find this image. So now you can see that we are actually showing images there. So that means that we are serving the images. But why are they not showing in the front end? Now we get a bad gateway on this one. Service, nginx, restore. Yeah, that's because let's go up one and cd Django BNB npm start. It's because this wasn't running. That's okay. So the image is not loading there. But why is it not loading? Internal server error. It's trying to find images from the local host 8000. That's weird. So we can stop this and say cat.env, so the URLs here are correct. Localhost, yes, I know where the error is. It's actually using this URL instead of this from the settings file. We need to set the debug to be false in production. So we can try to do that. Go into Django BNB backend and vi django.b.env. Set this to 0. So that should hopefully work. If I now run the build command again, it should hopefully run in production. Then we just need to wait to make sure that it is running. Now it gives us this bad gateway again. Now we are in production. Perfect. The images are still loading there, and then we just need to fix the front end. We will now get this, but that's because we need to go into here and say npm start to run this, and I will soon make this run in the background. There we have it. No image. So you can see it's still using this one, which means that it doesn't look like the environmental file was working as it should. Okay, so maybe we should just set it to false and just ignore this. Let's try that. So now we need to commit this code again. Commit and push. Go to the server, into the backend, cd Django backend, get pulled, and build this again. Hopefully for the last time now. And while this is starting up again, we can go back to Django BNB and say npm start. Like that. And then we can go here, refresh. Still gives me a bad gateway, but now it's running. And now we don't serve the media files any longer since we are in a production. Okay, so to fix that, let me just here say npm start and add the end ampersand at the end there. That did not work. The best way to make this running in the background is to use something called pm2. So npm install -g pm2, and then we just instruct this to run node in the background. So we just need to wait for this to finish, and then we just say pm2 start npm --name, and the name for this can be Django BNB start. So now this should be running in the background. Refresh. There are no errors, which means that it's now running. The last thing we need to fix then is why this image is not showing for us. So I think we need to do some changes to the nginx config file. Here we just have to put location /media, so all URLs beginning with this one should go to alias / and then I just need to find the correct path. And that should go to /usr /src /Django BNB backend media /. So if we save this now, I hopefully can commit this and pull the code. Just go into the correct folder for the backend, get pull, and build this again. So let's go back to the front end where we have this. Cannot be reached. Okay, there's something wrong with the nginx. So I think I just need to do one more change for the nginx config. So this looks to be correct. but I need to find the Docker Compose prod and add a volume here. So for the web, I can add media volume :/ then I append this URL and add media at the end. Forget this one without that slash, and copy this and append that. Actually, I can take this whole thing, put it in for the nginx, and just remove this one. I hope that is it. So just push all of this again and try to build it again. That looked a little bit better. Okay, see one more time, there's an unexpected error on line 17. Don't think there are 17 lines. Yes, there are. So I forgot to add a semicolon there. So let's rinse and repeat one more time. Head, commit, and push. Git pull and build one more time. Is used in service web, but no declaration was found in the volumes section. Okay, I forgot one thing probably, and that was to copy this media volume and append it at the end there with a colon. So one more time. Git commit, and push. Git pull and build. Okay, it's building now. It's starting. Come on, start nginx. Yes, nice. So we get a bad gateway now, so we just have to wait a few seconds for everything to start. So there we have it. If I refresh here now, you can see the image there. Perfect. If I refresh, the image is also loading here. Perfect. Which means that now we have the project running on a live Ubuntu 22.04. Great. If I go to the to-do list, because this to done, and say thank you for following along. I hope that it wasn't too messy with this deployment. If it was, try to just go over it a few times yourself and you probably will get more hang of it. What we did now for the media files, you need to do with the static files if you want to get the admin area to work properly. Anyways, thanks for now. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I will answer as soon as I can. See you in the next video.